Not many, not much option, right, Adrian?
Yeah.
You're getting recorded if you're in here. All right, welcome everyone to Take Action, our monthly call. And today our call is all about clarifying your vision. I'm Michael Esposito, as you folks know, but for those watching on YouTube or watching the replay, this community is I developed this community in order to help all of you grow your businesses and grow as individuals in your communities. So today's topic is really important in terms of that, in terms of setting a clear vision for your organization and for yourself, depending on which one you want to work on today, and being able to move forward with that. But before we begin, what I'd like to do is just do a quick introduction of everyone. So the way that I'd like to do this is a little bit different. However, Kristen, you are newer to the group, so you might have to just give a little bit more background on yourself. But what I would like to ask everybody else is, what's one thing that you wish you could share about yourself in any network setting? And I'll give you some context to this question here. A lot of times when we go out to networking events, chamber meetings, different types of associations and everything, we meet people and we introduce ourselves and we tell them what we do and to some extent who we are. But there's always that like one little piece about ourselves that we wish they knew. So for instance, with me, sometimes I wish that people knew that I've been an avid skier my whole life or that I play in a basketball league on a regular basis. And a lot of times in networking events, it doesn't really come out. So, what's something that if you were in a networking event and you didn't have to talk about your business, but you got to share something about yourself, your personal life, or a hobby or something of interest to you that nobody really knows and that you'd like to share with them? So, Adrian, would you like to kick that off?
Along with the you don't have a choice, you're being recorded. Sure, I'd love to kick it off, Michael. Right. So something I shared with myself. Well, actually, I and something I shared before is I am very much interested as a hobby and a skill of solar panels, batteries, renewable energy. We have my latest project is the shed. I'm very excited. We got the okay to get the shed. The shed has been plunked down on the thing, and 2 years later, I'm actually getting to the shed. And I figured out how to organize three solar panels on the shed. I was all excited to wire stuff up, and something told me to check with ChatGPT and is it Gemini or whatever it is, one of those things. ChatGPT is what I have, the components I have. Is there any danger with the components that I have? Turns out, yes. This is a device that's called a solar charge controller. It takes the input from the solar panels and puts it into your batteries or to your inverter, et cetera, et cetera. Turns out I had undersized because I was being cheap and I had undersized the solar controller. So I didn't want to burn down the shed because that would just not go down well. And I bought a new component. So I was very happy yesterday that, my new project is, I got shipping notifications. I'm very excited. And this is the saddest thing you're probably going to hear all day at
No,
this
you
point.
love
Yeah.
solar. That's
So,
awesome.
so
And then also just name of your company and what it does.
Oh, that. Uh, Hudson InfoSec, cybersecurity automation, vulnerability scanning and
Well,
reporting.
and you're an IWO, which does all the scans for you as well, right?
Oh,
The
yes,
device that you
yes.
created,
On brand, on
that
brand. Thank you.
that
Yeah,
device that you invented on your own, pretty cool.
yeah.
Kristen, why don't you introduce yourself and then you can cap it off with something that you wish everybody at a networking event knew about you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Kristen Mayo. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of Community Nexus. I also founded a consulting agency, Foundational Frameworks. Passionate about supporting other businesses with their technology, whatever business technology that is needed, all with the purpose of advocating for people with disabilities or all abilities, especially because my older sister has an intellectual disability. And my whole life, I've been part of our family looking for resources for her and been connected to hundreds and then thousands, and at this point, tens of thousands of other people in that situation. And so that's shaped my life and the work that I do. It's something very close to my heart.
Awesome. Thank you, Kristen. And something that you wish that you could just share at every networking event.
Well, it's that. It would be that, I spent a lot of time not sharing about what was real for me in my life, and I used to leave out the why.
Hmm.
I would go right to, I'm a computer scientist and I want to help you with your research and this, but no, it's because I'm really committed to transformation for people of all abilities, causing a shift in society, the way that we look at special needs and mental health and removing the taboo from talking about it.
Mm, excellent. Thank you so much, Kristen.
Thanks for
And we're
asking.
definitely going to get into that why today. Dennis, something about you.
Dennis Wilbon. I'm a family and community engagement coordinator for family services. Um, I'm gonna make up something. It's true, but I really don't leave meetings saying I wish I would have shared this. But if I was to think of something about me that I would have liked to have shared, I guess my experience in acting and doing plays and stuff like that, and that people like me in that role, and they feel like it's something that I'm talented at, and but people don't know that. So I guess that's it.
That's really cool. I love that. Yes, that's not something that we would know about you unless we saw your headshots on Instagram and then we might get a little bit of a hint. And Ron.
Ron Farris. I'm from Mid Hudson Works. Something, if you follow me on social media, then the cat's out of the bag. But one of the things that I really enjoy is being an outdoors person. So whether that's alpine skiing in the winter or rock climbing and hiking in the summertime, and when I can, getting out to the ocean. So exploring the ocean and doing that stuff. So that's really kind of who I am. I'm somebody that likes to be outside and doing things outdoors. I don't like being stuck in the house.
Cooped up
Even if it's
inside.
Yeah, even if it's freezing out, I like finding a way to get myself outside.
Awesome. And Ron, you're in business development, right?
Yes.
Just so everybody knows. Awesome. Awesome. Dennis, you inspired me to share another little quick fact about me that most people don't know. So I also did some acting that Dennis is now not hearing me. I also did some acting and had the opportunity to share the stage with Ray Liotta and Jennifer Lopez as a background actor on the show Shades of Blue. So that was pretty cool. We're going to start today with our vision. I'm going to go into a slide in a moment, but I want to walk you through a vision that I had and how I saw it through and how it continues today. And that is the Pedal for Purpose fundraiser that we've done. So, Pedal for Purpose was an idea that I had in November of 2004. And I'm going to share it to you in a way that is the beginning version, and then we're going to move into the version that's a little bit more inspiring. And this is done intentionally to give you all an example. November of 2004, I was on a Zoom with my director of marketing, Katie Haynes, and we were having a conversation. I said, I want to do a fundraiser. I want to raise money for the children in Haiti. Cool, right? So for me, this is important because of my background. I'm half Haitian. My parents started Forgotten Children of Haiti. So this is an organization that's near and dear to my heart. But when I say that, and I'm curious on your reaction to this, just go ahead and blurt it out. How inspiring is it to hear, I want to do a fundraiser to raise money for the children in Haiti? How inspired are you by that statement? You're good people nodding your head yes, but it's not that inspiring. That's the truth, right? It's missing some key elements to make it more inspiring. So right now, as you sit back and think about your visions for your organizations, I want you to use that example and go, maybe it's as generic as what Michael just shared, and it needs to be more refined. And that's exactly why I'm sharing it this way, is that's a very generic way of saying something. It's a fundraiser, it's to raise money, it's for children in Haiti. But it really doesn't speak to the why, which Kristen, as you mentioned before, it doesn't speak to the why, it doesn't speak to the cause, and it doesn't speak to a goal, a specific goal, right? So as I move forward in this story here, in January of 2025 was when I got more specific on my vision for this fundraiser. And in January of 2025, some of you were on that call when I shared with you, I am going to raise money for Forgotten Children of Haiti, for the children in Haiti. I'm raising money in terms of a goal of $30,000. I'm doing it by riding my bicycle from Somers, New York, and back, riding 105 miles with a group of riders. And the money is being used for the shelter, nutritional, and medical needs of the children in Haiti. Then we go into my why, which is the story behind Forgotten Children of Haiti, why it was founded. It was supporting my mother's school, the orphanage that it supports today, the hospital that it supports today, and the tens of thousands of children that have come through there and have created better lives for themselves. And that's part of the why as to all of that. Now, that one's obviously a little bit more long-winded because I wanted to make sure I hit every part for you. But I am again curious on your feedback on this. Tell me the differences that you saw between the first one, which was very generic, and that second one, which was more specific in terms of inspiration for you.
There's definitely an opportunity there for more buy-in because now I'm understanding the benefits behind it. Like, why are you doing this? Well, here's the purpose why. Here's the meaning behind it. Here's why it's impactful to you because it's near and dear to you. It's family related. It's benefiting somebody in, something that was important to somebody in your family. You're stepping into that now and you're supporting that vision.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. And I know, Adrian, you were just about to unmute. Go ahead.
But basically what Ron said, but also I want to say that you also conveyed a lot of information in a short period of time without it being overwhelming or speaking too quickly. Uh, being from Brooklyn, and I speak quickly, and unfortunately, everybody else is slow. So yeah, I appreciate that, Michael.
And so what you're speaking to is the clarity of the messaging, which we're going to get into as well. So that's great. So I love that both of you and everybody else nodding along picked up on that. So today, what we're going to do, I'm going to walk you through more like a workshop today. Well, this is typically always a workshop, but less of a keynote, but more of a workshop today on walking through your vision and how do we clarify it so that you can share that message with your communities. So let's get into this for all of you. All right, great. Can everybody see my screen? Cool. All right. Just went through there. So here's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. We're not going to go deep into numbers 2, 3, and 4. What I'm going to do with numbers 2, 3, and 4 is I'm kind of just going to do a highlight. We're going to stick on number 1. We're going to pretty much, because of time, we're going to spend the rest of these next about 35 to 40 minutes on number 1, on developing your vision. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to briefly walk through this entire kind of presentation for all of you, and then we're going to go back to vision. So I just shared with you the vision, the 2025 vision, and now I want to go into the message. So now I had this really great vision to share with all of you here, with my community, and then with all the people that supported me. And now I had to be able to message it in a way that had them give donations, that had them participate, and that had them spread the word. And the way that that comes about is by sharing that message in a very, I think, profound way, a passionate way, and a way that really touches their hearts. And the way that we do that is by not just sticking to the facts, but sharing stories that inspire hope, sharing stories that inspire different ideas and that are able to paint a picture for everyone. So for me, as a young boy at 8 years old, I had the opportunity to visit one of the orphanages in Haiti. And in that moment, I witnessed the children wearing my clothes and playing with my toys. And while I didn't know it then at that moment, later on in life, what I realized was that in that moment, I had made a commitment to those children that I would always support them. And that commitment carries on today, whether or not they know who I am or I know who they are. It carries on today in order to support them. So, what I shared in that story there, tell me, did that paint a picture for you? Were you able to see a young boy in an orphanage and children in need? Were you able to see that for yourselves? Right? So that's, again, quick, brief example of how we share a message. We want to paint a picture so that now you all see it. So now you're all kind of holding the vision with me. What's up, Shanta? You're all holding this vision with me. So let's continue now. Again, as I said, I'm just going to go through this very quickly, and then we're going to go back to vision. So I want to stay on this one just for a moment here. So just to kind of remind everybody, when we're sharing our message, we want to inspire hope, we want to paint a picture, and we want to do it through a story. So we want to share a story. The next key part, and Shanta, you showed up just in time, Shanta's a fellow Toastmaster, is your delivery. So the delivery is so important. And here's the thing about delivery. What we're talking about in terms of delivery is the way that you speak, the confidence in your delivery of it, the confidence in your body language. So all of that matters. Your body language, how you're moving, how you're holding yourself, all of that matters when you're delivering your message. So when you're delivering it from a one-to-one to being on stage to being on camera, we want to be aware of how we're speaking. So obviously Toastmasters is a great way to practice all of this. And for all of you, as you're thinking about your vision and sharing your message with your community, what I want you to think about is, how can I start rehearsing this? How can I start speaking about it at networking events and in different ways? And how am I carrying myself when I do it? Are my hands in my pocket? Am I slunched over? Am I saying a lot of ums and buts and filler words? I want you to think about your delivery and how do we clean that up? Because when we have all of these filler words in there, it's removing the confidence factor in all of it. Filler words make us, they detract from the message and they make us appear as though we're not confident in what we're saying. I'm not going to go into examples of that because, again, I'm only sticking on our vision today, but I want to make sure that all of these things are touched on for you. So again, body language. Clarity and enthusiasm, that speaks to your vocal variety. How are you sharing it? Making sure it's not dry, making sure it's not monotone, having your highs and your lows in the story, sharing it in a way that really engages with people. And also our pausing, making sure that our filler words are not filled with ums and ahs, but those moments of time are actually just filled with a pause. The pause is very powerful and it can punctuate your statement. So when I say to you that the reason why today I devote my life to the children in Haiti is because of what I witnessed when I went to an orphanage in Haiti, that is punctuated by that pause to also allow you to process the picture I just painted for you. Finally is support. Support in your vision is crucial. Every one of you is creating a vision. We're going to craft your vision in another minute now. And a vision is different than a goal because a vision is big. It's way bigger than a goal. Within this vision, you could have several goals. And so therefore, the bigger your vision, the more support you need. So when we think about support, I want to finalize with this. Leading up to this 105-mile ride, I busted my knee. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do the 105 miles. But because I had invested so much support in my community, people like Jamie, who some of you already know from this call here, showed up for me. Jamie showed up for me and gave me an entire training routine from stretching to training in order to continue the work that I needed to do, the strength work that I needed to do for my legs, to be able to ride the 105 miles. Another friend of mine who's a physical therapist showed up for me by bringing me to his office on a weekly basis and providing physical therapy treatment for me. So that's one way, and support can show up in many other ways. At the end of my ride, or in the middle of my ride, when some of our supporters showed up with bananas and oranges and water to fill our camelbacks. And at the end of our ride, when all of those supporters were there cheering us on when it got really challenging for us. And finally, support can show up in the way of really pulling the people along in your vision. In the last 2 miles of this ride, my friend Dave Hills was struggling. He was way behind me, and I could see him challenged. So I slowed down, and I got right next to him. And some of you who might have met Dave know that he's a Marine. And so I did the one thing that I know would motivate any Marine. I told him, you know what, Dave, instead of doing 105 miles next year, Maybe we only do 50. And he turned to me and said, no, we set the bar. We don't move backwards. And he started pedaling even harder to finish. What I'm sharing with you is that support comes in many different ways. But when you're holding a grand vision, it's important that you know who the people are that are going to show up for you and support you in your ride. I love your smile on that, Ron, because you could see Dave saying that. So turn your words into action. You are inspiring a community of people. You're inspiring your team. You're inspiring the people around you that you have this wonderful vision. You're creating this great picture. Now you have to show up for it. So you got to set a plan. You have to make checkpoints along the way, let people know where they are, inform them as to what's going on, how it's going to take place, and show up. That's showing up for our team and our people. So, like I said, the greater the vision, the more support you will need. Okay, I'm going to go back to slide 1 now. And before I get into these questions here for all of you, I want to take a pause and just get a gauge for questions right now, feelings right now, before we get into setting your vision. Anything coming up right now? Great. Let's get into setting your vision. All right. So we're not going to stay on this slide very long. This is more for you to maybe take some notes, and then we're going to go around and start working on this together. When you create your vision, it has to be clear. So like Adrian picked up on in terms of my second way of saying it was very clear. It's definitive. We know the objective. What's important about that is that we're not going in multiple different ways. When we think about the multiple different ways that we're being brought into, I want you to figure out, are they the vision or are they the different goals along the way? So when we think about Pedal for Purpose, the vision is to raise money for the children in Haiti. That's the vision, right? The vision is to support the children in Haiti. The goals are different. The goals along the way are riding 105 miles, are emailing sponsors, are emailing people to donate, are getting riders. All of those are different goals that live within the vision. So I want to make sure that we're clear on that the vision has to be very clear and everything else might just be goals. So we're going to be able to figure that out. Compelling. So how do we create a compelling vision? It has to stretch us. It has to be bigger than ourselves. So again, using this as the example, a 105-mile ride. Prior to doing that 105-mile ride, the most I had done was 30 miles with Dave back in October. So in October, I had done 30 miles, and then I come up with this idea that I'm going to do a 100-mile ride. Dave came up with it, really. I blame him. But the point is that you can see the stretch there, right? We went from 30 to 100. So when you're thinking about your goal, your vision, the way that it becomes compelling is by stretching yourself, making it to where it's actually scary and you might not even know if you'll accomplish it. And that's a good thing. And then, of course, it has to inspire others. So when we have a vision that's greater than ourselves, to what end does it serve? What is the why? How is it helping others? What is it creating for them? Now, a lot of you are non-for-profits, so when we talk about to who it serves and everything, I understand that we look at it from the non-for-profit mission type of work. But also when you're in the profit space, your profitable business can serve a community in a tremendous way. Adrian, when you look at your business and cybersecurity, it's a for-profit business, but it serves business owners and it serves private people in that it secures their web connection. Well, I know that when I had a bug take over my computer, I was able to call you and you were able to walk me through the steps to be able to clear that out and get my computer back up and running. I was in a panic state and you were able to serve me, to help me. So I want us to remember that our service work doesn't always have to come in the form of non-for-profit work. It can be for-profit type of work. And I will give kudos to Adrian on that because he did do it as a friend for me, and I really did appreciate that. While you were in, I think, the Sahara, weren't you on vacation at the time when you answered my call?
nothing that glamorous. I was in Vegas, so
Oh, you
not
were you
quite.
you said it was a Sahara because it was hot. That's what it was. Yes.
Yeah, and it was a desert, so same thing.
Yes. That's what it was. All right, so we're going to get to these questions now and go around and have a conversation around this so that we can start clarifying our visions together because this is really, really important. So, your vision, you can choose to have it in any way that you decide. The reason why I wanted to talk about something that maybe people don't know about you is I wanted to kind of break the barrier of our work life and our personal lives. So if there's something in our personal life, if there's something in your personal life right now that any of you want to say, hey, you know what? I kind of want to set a vision for my family. I kind of want to set a vision for this hobby that I have, then that's exactly why I did that. So let's talk about your visions. Who would like to share first on there's only three of us really working this today. So who would like to go first on a vision that they might have for themselves? And there's no wrong answer here.
Well, can't you have multiple visions? I mean, is it one could be business related, one's personal related,
Yeah,
right?
you can have. So I think with your question, I think that's really great because we talk about purposes, we talk about our whys, we talk about our visions, and they all kind of like float in the same area. When we're talking about our vision today, what we're talking about is the vision that comes top of mind. It's the vision that's the priority today. To your point, Adrian, I was just talking with my coach about some of my work that I do between Michael Esposito Inc., all of this stuff that I do here, between the coaching that I do in terms of basketball and the league that I run there, and all of the other community things I do, like Forgotten Children of Haiti, and then, of course, my family. So I have all of these great purposes, and I have a vision for each of them. But the work that we did together was which one's really at the top right now of that list that we need to focus our time and attention on right now and or so that could be it, that could be the one of like the one that we're going to focus our time and attention on, and or which one of those purposes does not have a clear vision. So I can have all of these purposes of like I want to be a great basketball coach and I want to run a great business, but which one of those doesn't have a clear vision? Do I have a clear vision here? Do I need to clarify my vision there? So for today, it's whichever you want to work on. It could be something that you have a purpose in and you just don't have a clear vision on, or it can be, to your point, Adrian, of like, hey, I just want to really refine this vision in this purpose that I have.
Well, I just want, for me, the vision for the goal I have for the business, for example, X number of nodes I want to shift by within 12 months from now, to me allows me to do the other things that I want to do as well. Because I just, for me, as being pragmatic, it's like, okay, well, the funding that comes from that allows the other things to be possible. So that's kind of what I have a goal that I've set for X number of nodes I need to sell, but I'm not entirely sure how to necessarily change that into a vision per se.
Cool.
And maybe I guess maybe language is tripping me up. I don't know.
Yep, no worries at all. So that's perfect. That's exactly why we're doing this work right now. Is you have a goal of number of nodes, and so let's start working through this together. So what is the number of nodes that you need to ship?
1,500 nodes.
1,500 nodes by when?
Uh, what month is this? This is June 10th, 2026.
So is this a monthly goal?
No, it's an annual goal. It's
Annual
an
goal.
annual goal. Yeah, yeah.
Annual goal. Okay. And is this an annual goal that you're looking to meet by December 31st?
No, a year from now.
1 year
So I
from
would,
now. Okay,
yeah.
so you have six months to work on it and then really hit the ground in January.
Right. I was going to give myself a month with all these other things finally coming into place that have been within the business. It's like, okay, now I can actually go ahead and scale because I had
Great.
issues thinking about how I was going to scale before, but the technology is now in place for me to scale.
Great.
So I want to
Okay.
scale.
So 1,500 nodes is your goal, right? Fantastic. And we're talking about your business. I always mess up your name. I said it
I
perfect when I introduced you, and then I forgot it now.
oh, I will. The
I
nose,
will.
I will. Yeah.
I will. So this is for the business I will. So everybody take notes on this for yourselves. Think about the goal that you have for your business right now. So Ron, you're in business development, your sales goal. Dennis, you might have a different goal in terms of like the number of people that you're helping or serving, or even if it's outside of the work, it's more personal. Think of that. Shanta, same with you. Shanta's got a big goal. He's running for Dutchess County. Dutchess, Shanta's chime in here. What are you running for again? Just unmute.
Town of Poughkeepsie, Poughkeepsie Town Board.
Poughkeepsie Town Board, yeah. So, Shanta, a good person for you to connect with outside of here is Dennis. He's very involved in the Poughkeepsie community. So, I think the two of you will definitely put all of our information in the chat. But the two of
Thank
you
you.
should definitely chat. And then, Shanta, you've met Ron before, right? No, you guys need to connect as well. Ron is also very well connected in the Duchess Chamber, so he's an ambassador there. So I think a conversation between the three of you would be really beneficial to you, Shanta. As he's glitching out. All right, so I want you to think about that. So we're going to work through this with Adrian. So that's a goal, right? So you have the goal of 1,500 nodes. Why is the goal so important to you? And you could stay unmuted, Adrian.
Oh, okay. Why is the goal important? For me, it allows me to, at 1,500 nodes, it allows me to do other things that I've always wanted to do with the business, and being the skill sets I have that I couldn't really justify until that foundation was in place,
Okay,
because
cool.
it becomes self-fulfilling at that point.
Okay, cool. So let's stay there. So it allows you to do things that you weren't capable of doing before with the business, right?
Correct.
I want us to identify that statement right there. We're going to identify that statement as generic. And that's good. That's a great starting point, Adrian. But that's the same for all three of you, Dennis, Ron, and Shanta, is I want you to think about the statement that you might have made of your why, and I want you to see the resemblance to it being very generic, which is great because we're going to go from there now. So it allows you to do things inside of your business that you couldn't do before. The question is, what are the things, right? So what are the things is one part to the question. That's part A. Part B is why are they impactful? And remember now in the vision, it's not just impactful to you in the business, it's impactful on a greater scale. Remember, our vision has to be greater than ourselves. So it's on a greater scale. So I want you to go back to you, Adrian. Let's go to A. Why is it impactful?
It's impactful because while the cybersecurity solution I have addresses critical needs, there's another solution that I have that is a much broader application. And it might sound funny, but it happened to me. And I realized that, okay, I have an idea for how to solve this, but I don't have the resources to solve it yet. And that is sump pump failure. Our sump pump failed. And it was a situation where we didn't realize the sump pump had failed until we were doing the annual maintenance. And I was trying to find a way, well, surely there's a way, when I was speaking to the contractor, there was a way to identify that the sump pump had failed. Technically speaking, no, there isn't, because there's no cost-effective way to alert you. I have an idea, I know exactly how to solve the issue, but I don't have the resources to implement that. And that's a much bigger fix, a much bigger application for everyone, really. A super cost-effective, like $6 solution you throw into your well, and it alerts you if your sump pump has failed.
Okay, great. So the thing is sump pumps. That's the thing, right? So that's what you were talking about before.
Yeah.
Now, the greater scale, the bigger impact is going to the number of people that sump pump failures affect.
Yes.
So we just use my Forgotten Children of Haiti example, is the number of children that it's affecting, the thousands of children that it's affecting. I didn't put a number on it. I didn't say 10,000 children. I didn't say 50,000 children. I say thousands because I know that thousands go through there, right? So you don't have to be too specific, but you can if you choose to, right? You can find that information out as to how many people does sump pump failures affect, and then putting a number on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's think about the damage that sump pump failure causes. So what we're doing now for everyone is we've identified the problem. It is sump pump failure. And so what do we see as a result of sump pump failure? So in other words, we're going into our problem and we're going to come back to our solution in a moment. So let's go into the problem. Let's dig a little bit deeper into the problem.
Basement floods, water damage, insurance claims, something you certainly don't want, Michael. But also just the why does it always happen at 2 o'clock in the morning situation? So it is, I haven't lived through that. I wouldn't want that on anybody, or yeah.
Okay, that's good. So what we have there is we have tens of thousands of dollars of damage, and we have discomfort.
Right.
Okay. So now let's kind of go back to your solution. So now the solution that you've created is what that you're looking to create in terms of your vision, right? Is a device.
Yes.
Go ahead. That will alert.
That a device that does not attach to the existing machinery. Therefore, there's no danger of voiding a warranty. You just throw it into the well where your sump pump is, and it will notify you if the water is rising and isn't going down, something's wrong.
Great. So we have a cost-effective notification in order to avoid tens of thousands of dollars of damage and your discomfort.
Correct.
Right? So
Yes.
now, do you start seeing this as more of like the vision for the company now a little bit, or for this goal?
Right. It's also helped me to also immediately decided that, okay, well, the most effective way to reach the most amount of people is do this with Amazon. So it will be distributed through Amazon as an example, because that's the whole point of going to scale.
Now, when we're going to Amazon, now we're going into some of the goals within that vision.
Right.
So that's more of a goal within the vision that we'll talk about at another time. So let's just kind of go back now to your vision. Does this vision of selling 1,500 nodes by the end of the year of 2026, does that feel like a bit of a stretch?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you're stretching yourself. You feel it, right?
Oh, yeah, like yoga.
Now, does the idea of being able to take that revenue and develop this sump pump notification tool, does that idea motivate you to do what it takes to sell those 1,500 nodes?
Oh, absolutely, because the reality is I'm selling to the entire country at that point, or if not even more so, because this sump pump issues, it's a much, much broader problem. And there's no effective way to.
And what's the reaction that you see from the people that you sell this device to, who might have experienced this in the past or that want to avoid this?
Even better, I spoke to we use Basement Systems of New York, who installed the drainage system in our house, and I talked to him about this, and he was super excited. He was willing to pay me for exclusive use for a year for all of his clients, because we started talking, and I said one of his biggest issues he was having as the installer were warranty claims, because they don't know if the sump pump has failed until, unfortunately, the client's basement is flooded.
And so now you see the impact that it's creating, right?
Right.
So we could always stretch this further, but because of time, I think that this was a really great example. Adrian, thank you so much for getting real vulnerable with us and sharing this with all of us. This was a really great example of how we had a goal of how many nodes we want to sell of whatever item it is that we want to sell. And we know that that goal is going to directly impact a vision that's going to serve a greater community, create a greater impact greater than ourselves. What questions, Dennis or Ron or Shanta, might you have for Adrian or for myself in terms of this right now? And it could be about yourself. It could just be about like the kind of the work that you did in parallel to us just now.
I think, one of the things I look at is the test. And I guess what I mean by test is, we say we want to have 1,500 of these nodes that are sold. Well, what if you only sell 800? So maybe you're only selling about half of that goal. is that a failure or is it not necessarily a failure because you moved 800 units, right?
Fantastic. Fantastic. That's a great question, Ron. And it is not a failure because here's the thing. The goal is just a marker along the way towards your vision. The vision is the North Star. That's why I asked Adrian about how he feels about it and where the nodes and all this other stuff in terms of that. Because the vision becomes your North Star. It becomes the driver. That's why you have to know that it's really important to yourself. That's why I asked Adrian that, like, do you really feel like the impact? Do you know the community impact that it's going to create? So for all of you right now, same thing. You have to really feel it to where, look, even if I fall short of the goal, I know that I'm still living within the vision of what I'm trying to create. And a vision that stretches us, sometimes most of the time, we will fall short of. We will not accomplish a lot of the goals within it, and it will take longer than what we expected it to take. And so it's a perfect transition for all of you right now in the goal of Pedal for Purpose. The goal of Pedal for Purpose was to, or is to, raise $30,000. However, as I last checked very recently, we've only raised $8,000. So that's very short of the goal of $30,000. However, it's not shy of the vision. And the reason why it's not shy of the vision is because with that goal of $30,000, I was able to inspire so many people that never heard about Forgotten Children of Haiti, that had no idea of what was happening in Haiti, and had no idea about my background, and made donations. $25, $50, people that just met me because they just thought that my story was inspiring, and they didn't really care where it went. They just wanted to donate to the cause. So because I was living within the vision, I was able to inspire those people. Secondly, because I was living into the vision, I was also able to inspire people that was able to get me on the news. So I was on the news in Arizona, in Phoenix, and I'm not talking about Phoenix, Arizona. It was two different networks. In Westchester, and then News 12 did two specials on me. They did one right before the ride, and then they did one on the day of the ride. Now, it drove donations about $1,000 on the first one. The second one didn't do much in terms of donation numbers. However, it was broadcast all over Westchester. So while the donation number didn't correlate with a 30,000, we know that we lived within the vision and shared the vision, the message of the vision. Which, by the way, if all of you remember, in all of my statements that I made about Pedal for Purpose, it was always to raise awareness and $30,000. So within that vision of being on the news, it raised awareness, and it got capped recently with not capped in a bad way, no good way, capped off in terms of like icing on the cake, that a fundraiser reached out to me recently, and she does galas for organizations, and she was the last one she did raised $100,000, and she wants to do her October gala for Forgotten Children of Haiti using my story. So again, the vision, just because it doesn't accomplish the goals, doesn't die with the goals. The vision continues to live on because it's the North Star. It's what we're always striving towards. So when things get hard, when Dave was struggling with his last 2 miles, and by the way, I was struggling too, so I don't want to just put on Dave. I was struggling too. When things got hard, that was our guiding star. When it rained that morning and it was cold that morning, and people were asking me, "Are you going to still ride?" But the day prior, at asking me because they knew the weather, I said, "Absolutely." And so that morning, the message I shared with the entire team was, "Hey, look, there are people in Haiti right now that have their homes on their backs and no shoes on their feet, and are walking to find shelter and don't know if they're going to find safety or food or any of that. We're not going to let a little discomfort stop us today." Right? So if that wasn't our guiding star, if our bigger vision wasn't our North Star, then yeah, we would have said, you know what, Sunday's going to be really nice. Let's just go then. But no, it had to be done on Saturday when it was cold and raining, because it was proof that that's our guiding star. Did that help answer your question, Ron? And we have about 10 more minutes. Does anybody want to go through a quick rundown of their vision, if they don't have any questions right now? Shanta, you have
Well,
a pretty. Oh, go ahead, Ron.
I was just going to say, I think for us, it's it's multi-pronged, right? We're trying to obviously bring in clients so that we can hire veterans and people with disabilities. So, but not it's not just a target number for bringing in clients, it's a target number for bringing in clients with a dollar value associated with that, right? So like we're always looking at we need X amount of dollars in new sales every year, right? And every year that number goes up, even though we're not necessarily hitting the previous year's goal. So I just wonder, like, when we talk about like having that vision, even if there's a miss, we still use that as the North Star, the guiding star to get us to that vision. How do you stay motivated within that if you feel like, hey, we're not hitting the goal? Like, what are the wins along the way?
Yeah, so I mean, of course, celebrating the wins along the way is great, and then that's more goal oriented. But to what you just said, how you stay motivated, it's the impact that you're creating. So always go back to what is the impact that we are creating. So that's why with the sump pumps, what is the impact that we're creating? What are the stories? Who are the people that we're affecting? And how are we helping them? So you, Adrian, had that moment in your life, but what about the person who's got a wedding the next day? What about the person who's maybe experiencing a trauma and now they got this flooded basement? Maybe they just lost a family member, they got a funeral service, and now their basement is flooded and they don't know what to do, right? So think about these stories that are true. These are, I mean, I'm not making these up. I'm making them up on the spot, but my point is like we know it's happening to people, right? So you're impacting these people. That's your North Star. So same with you, Ron, with the work that you do and in terms of giving work to people with disabled veterans, that's part of your North Star is where is that veteran going to find work? Where is that person with a disability going to find work? If it's not in your place, if you're not filling the space with another organization's manufacturing work for them to fulfill, where are they going to find work? That's part of the North Star is how you support those veterans. Dennis, your North Star is the community, the children that you impact in changing their lives through your story and helping them recognize that, we're not all made perfect. We have mistakes and they're given an opportunity by hearing your story to be able to change their trajectory in life. And if you could save one kid from any type of trauma or being incarcerated or doing things that are against their values, if you could save one kid from doing that, how impactful is that for you, Dennis? Right? Isn't it incredible? You can't save them all. You can't give everybody a job, Ron. You're not going to stop all the floods, Adrian. But if you could impact one person's life, that's part of the guiding star. That's what matters, right? Shanta, in terms of serving the Poughkeepsie community and all the work you do with NASA and the United Nations and women's rights, same thing. If you get on stage and speak about one of these topics in a way that inspires one person to move the needle in one of those areas, how inspiring is that when things get hard? So that's part of the North Star is the impact that you're creating. And you really have to feel it. If you don't feel attached to the impact that you're creating, one of two things is true. You're in the wrong job, you're in the wrong place, or the vision is not powerful enough. That's it. Or both are true, right? So the vision has to be powerful enough to really motivate you. And I know that it does because three of you, Ron, Dennis, and Shanta, are in non-for-profit work. So obviously it does. Adrian and myself were founders because it motivates us because we're like, hey, we see problems and we want to solve them. So that's hopefully answers your question in terms of that.
Yeah, I think you just as a quick aside here, you talk about find those wins, and the sales target may be off still for us, but when I think about what has happened here in the last few months and how busy we've become, we've created 4 opportunities for people here. So 4 new people are working with us now that weren't here 6 months ago.
And Ron, that's the reason why I've said to you, and I would say the same thing to you, Dennis and Shanta, and even you, Adrian, that the focus on your testimonials are not necessarily your client testimonials of the people you work with, but the people whose lives you have affected. So the people that come through Mid-Hudson Works and work there, their testimonial. The kids, Dennis, that you've changed their lives for the good, and even if they're still making mistakes, but they're not making the same mistakes. They've changed their lives because of you. Or Adrian, the people who you've shipped a note off to and had a cyber disaster and it was stopped and prevented because of you. Or Shanta, the person who you inspired and shared with them about women's rights and it saved the life of somebody in their family. Those are the people whose testimonials not just resonate with your community, but are going to resonate with you in those moments. When you're challenged by your vision, it's when you look back at their story and you say, you know what? These freaking people need me. Because if I'm not doing this work, who is? So that's why those testimonials are so important. And they don't have to come in the form of a testimonial to sell to others. They could come in the form of you just having those conversations with them, touching base with the people you serve and just reaching out saying, hey, how are things going? You know, I spoke with you about a couple weeks ago. I want to know how things are going. Walking around the facility and saying, hey, how's work going? Tell me about how this is changing your life. Tell me about the good things that are happening for you. So it's having those conversations those are the small wins, Ron, that we're looking for. And those are the ones that keep reminding us of our vision, or keep reminding us of the work that we're doing. Because we can lose sight of that very, very easily in the world that we live in, especially when we have targets and goals and financial metrics that we need to meet. It's very easy to lose sight of why we're doing the work. How does that help?
Yeah, it really brought everything full circle because there are countless stories throughout this building, every day. And when we look at like the people that eventually move on from us because now they have gotten what they needed to make that next step in their career.
Yeah. And one of the other things I want to just speak to in terms of what you asked there. So we're talking about goals are something that are very important. Metrics are something that are very important. So when we talk about clarity in our vision, I want to address the metrics there. I know we don't have much time left. We have about 2 minutes left, but I just want to address this very briefly. In terms of our vision, there has to be our true clarity into who we're serving and how we're serving them. And so, for a very simple example, I'll use myself so we don't go too far into this. It took me a while to learn what that is. It took me a very long time to learn who it is that I'm serving. So, I'm going to move away from Pedal for Purpose and I'm going to go into Michael Esposito Inc. in terms of my coaching business, specifically my coaching business. Took me a very long time to find out who I'm serving because I wanted to help everyone. I have a big heart and I want to just be able to serve everyone and help everyone. And I know about entrepreneurship and I know about leadership and I know about communication and I know about all these different things. And I can help people in sales. I can help them in all these different ways. But because I'm trying to help everyone, I'm not helping anyone. And that's not necessarily true because many of you I've worked with on a coaching basis, and I know that we've made some significant impact, but I'm not helping myself. I'm not building the business that I envision for myself, the vision that I have for my business. And so I had to refine and clarify who it is that I'm serving. So while all of you meet some of the criteria that I'm serving, in that you all have businesses that are impacting communities, and so therefore that's why I have this mastermind to continue to work with you. I needed to clarify who are the people that are going to do the thing that Adrian said, which is put revenue into my business so that I can create a greater impact in the world, which is what I want to do with things like Pedal for Purpose. And so what that looked like for me when I clarified it was I want to work with athletic founders of athletic brands who value health and wellness, who are athletic and who are founders, who have founded an organization. I want to specifically help them with their communication needs in order to help them in their one-to-ones, in order to help them with their pitches and their sales presentations, and in order to help them on stage and on camera, directly impacting their company culture, their presentation skills, their capital, their revenue that they bring in, and their brand presence. And I'm working with founders who are in the $2 to $20 million space. Now that's very clear. And so now when I go out with Michael Esposito Inc. and I speak to people about my vision for my organization and what I want to build and create, that becomes one of the goals and a metric that helps me get there, Ron, right? So I'm very specific as to who I'm working with. I know how they bring in and drive revenue for my organization. I follow that metric of I need 3 to 5 clients like this at a ticket of $3,000 a month on a project basis of 3 to 6 months. I'm very clear on that. With that knowledge, I know that that's going to get me to the revenue goal that I have. With that revenue goal, I know that it's going to serve my greater vision. So you see, we have to go back to that clarity. So Dennis, you have to know who it is exactly that you're serving. And you have to be able to speak to them in the way that inspires them. You and I have talked about that in terms of communication. Ron, same thing. You have to know who it is that you're serving, right? And let's go back from service for you, Ron, who it is that you want in the manufacturing space that is the most profitable in order to create more jobs for the people with disabilities, right? So Shanta, same thing. Who it is that you're for you, Shanta, it's serving as well, right? It's who it is that you're serving that creates the most impact. Has that helped everyone today?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. As I said to all of you here, I really enjoy working with all of you. Dennis, you and I have done some coaching sessions. Ron, of course. Shanta, I see you every week at Toastmasters, but you're always welcome to jump on my calendar. Happy to help you in any way. I do owe you a call back, Dennis, on the podcast that you sent me, and I will have some feedback for you on it very shortly. I want to thank you all for joining on the Mastermind today. Our next Mastermind is on July 9th. At 11 a.m., you'll see the Eventbrite link. Unless anything changes, I still believe that we'll have it in July. Even if it's a light one like this, I think it's great for us to workshop. Join Pedal for Purpose is still open for donations for everybody watching, for everybody listening. If you want to make a donation or spread the word, really, really appreciate it. It ends at the end of the month. Thanks, everyone, for joining today. As always, stay happy and stay healthy.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you all. I'm going to stay on, but I'm going to stop the recording.